I mean, I've heard it said that war and sex produced some of our greatest innovations. With porn, for example, a lot of the technology, the internet, our computers, it was all a desire to see better porn that drove it forward. And the other major thing is our desire for war, or our capacity to make war, that drove the other part of the sort of technological sector. How much truth do you think is in that, if at all?
Well, I think when it comes to the war thing, that's very much a fallacy of the seen and the unseen, as Bastiat put it in his essay, where he talked about disbanding armies after war and said, people say, oh no, don't do that because they'll all be out of a job and they won't be able to find jobs, not realising that in order to pay for those jobs, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Yes, millions has been spent on technology for wars, but wars are essentially spending resources on destroying resources. Every time you blow up houses, that's money you had to pay to buy and develop those bombs, and then money you have to pay to rebuild those houses.
As opposed to just building brand new houses.
Or anything else that people think would raise their standards of living. So yes, war may have advanced technology, but not necessarily in the ways that the free market would have. Most of the technology has been driven by the consumer. This phone, I've got a smartphone, but even a Nokia is more sophisticated than the computer that was used to land on the moon.
Right.
So we have the private sector is really good at driving our communications technology and stuff like laptops, because people really do want a better phone every year. I think that's kind of weird. I'm happy with upgrading every few years, but I'm glad that some people buy brand new things, because if they didn't, then I would get mine so cheap. Yeah.
I mean, is there truth in the assertion that had NASA just waited 10 years to do their moon landings or their space exploration, that most of it could have been done out of a fraction of the cost, because the free market had produced technology that would have made it much easier to do?
I certainly feel that way. I mean, if you just look at the advance in the communications technology in those 10 years, that would be enough to knock significant amounts. Now, statists will say that, oh, no, NASA developing those technologies had lots of benefits for the free market, but there's no zero-sum hypothesis where you can compare the world without that public spending.
Right.
So you can't really compare, but on principle we can deduce that that money wasn't going to what people wanted the most, because they were forced at gunpoint to pay for it through the tax system by their wise overlords who obviously know how to spend their money better than they do.
Yeah.